Okay, so this unit of dance is all about relationships. And it's about your relationship with the other dancers in your space, your relationship with the space, with the furniture, with the props the children are using, scarves and ribbons. And how do we take these relationships and what we've learned about them and have them communicate a message to our audience? How can we use dance as an art form, just like language, that can communicate a meaning, that can change the way people think about something?
So how did you start with them to get that across?
Well, we started with looking at the space and how we interact with each other. So they started with mirroring each other's movements or trying to contrast each other's movements. So they had a dance conversation. One partner was seated, the other partner was standing. We put on some music, and the partner standing, they created a short dance phrase. Then they switched roles, and the other person had to respond to what they felt the first person was communicating through their dance. And that went back and forth a few times. And we tried traveling movements that were the same, copying, or similar, so changed slightly, and then contrasting. So how does that affect your relationship with the other person when you're dancing?
Right.
And then we moved from there into furniture. I set up an obstacle course in the room, and they had to move around and harmonize with the obstacles that were in the room. Some great pieces came out of that. And then we moved into using props. So we talked about, we had balloons at one point. And their favorite thing is to throw the balloon up and play keep up. But then how do we take that balloon and use it as a symbol that means something else? So if that balloon, if that meaning is like a fragile hope and it's like more like an egg, how are you going to treat that balloon? How are you going to dance with it? How is that setting up a message for your audience? So we moved from there into props. And then our culminating task was bringing all of these things together with what they've been learning about in social studies, which was Shannon's dream, what had happened in Attawapiskat. We watched a couple of video clips in here about the current situation, the new school, and then we listened to the MP, Charlie Angus, talk about the fact that there's other schools in his riding that are communities, reserves that don't have school yet. They're still in the same situation. This isn't resolved, right? There's more work to be done. And how does that make you feel, and how can you communicate that through this art piece? So that's where we're headed.
Interesting. And so, in the end, how do you feel about the results?
I think the dances are beautiful. I think, I don't know if the children can see yet how well they've communicated their feelings. I certainly see it. I'm going to play their dances back for them so they can watch themselves, because I think that always helps them to gain more insight into what they've created. But I'm incredibly pleased with the level of maturity and the complexity of what they've done with the props and with the spacing, the formations. Even I was looking at the symmetry on the floor. So when they're laying the props down, they're creating visual spaces that they can interact with. So I'm really pleased with what came out of it.
And do you often integrate, sorry for your time, but do you often integrate what you're doing here with subjects that are happening in the classroom? I
try to combine things as much as I can. Right now we're looking at science in dance. So the next unit I'm working on is about energy and force. So we're talking about heavy versus light, tension versus relaxation. We're going to look at LeBon's effort movements, but I had an elastic band with me today, so I was just talking about potential energy and tension in science. Where do we see that in our world, and then how can we bring that into a dance, and how can that affect meaning? So I try to incorporate wherever possible.
That's excellent.